Okay, welcome to Unscripted Liberty, where we explore the world through the lens of freedom, art, and activism. I'm your host, Brittany Cozen, and today we have a very special guest, Tatiana Moroz, a brilliant singer and songwriter, and a passionate advocate for liberty. We're going to dive into her music, her experiences in the industry, and her thoughts on the state of our culture today. We'll also discuss viral TikTok video that's been sparking some conversation about societal views. And later we'll talk about Ross Ulbricht's story and why Tatiana is so dedicated to his cause. But first, we're proud to have a special sponsored video ad from John Thomas for U.S. Senate in Pennsylvania. John's campaign is dedicated to liberty, constitutional principles, and the fight for freedom. Now let's take a look.
They'll tell you the choice for senator is between an establishment Democrat who wants to start World War III in Eastern Europe and an establishment Republican who wants to start World War III in the Middle East. In the tide of war fever, it takes courage to say neither. It takes courage to choose peace and prosperity over war and inflation. It takes courage to not throw away your vote for more of the same. Be courageous. Vote for me. I'm John Thomas, and I approve this message.
Hi, Tatiana. It's glad to have you on. So you've been a passionate advocate for liberty through your music for years. Now, kind of tell us how you got involved in the liberty movement and kind of what inspired you to use your platform as a musician to advance these ideas.
Awesome. Well, nice to be on the show. I'm glad to have another conversation with you, Brittany, and thank you for inviting me. I have gotten into libertarian stuff, I guess. I mean, I was always very politically kind of conscious, and I remember ever since I was a little girl, reading dystopian novels, being influenced by those 60s and 70s singer-songwriters, and really being interested in using music to convey a message. In 2011, I figured out who my real enemy was, and that was the Federal Reserve. So I learned all about Austrian economics from Dr. Paul, and I made friends with a lot of great libertarian speakers as well, like Jeffrey Tucker, Bob Murphy, and that whole kind of crowd. I was very lucky because I was singing for the Ron Paul campaign, and as I was doing that, it gave me one-on-one access with all of the other speakers. So I got a firsthand education from either going to their talks or reading their books and just having, conversations right in person. Ever since then, I have been a passionate advocate for libertarianism, sometimes a little anarchy, I'm not going to lie, especially these days. I'm like, oh, forget it. This whole political process is terrible. Although I would have voted for that guy that just opened up the show. I have courage, but I'm not in Pennsylvania. I actually escaped to Florida during COVID. But basically in 2012, I started singing for the Ron Paul movement. I got to travel all around the country. I saw what I consider to be, one of the best political movements by far. It was really bringing together both the people from the left and the right. It was very peaceful. And then ever since then, it's been downhill. So luckily in 2012, I also learned about Bitcoin. And so pretty soon after seeing how corrupt the political system was, I decided to switch over and do a lot more Bitcoin stuff because I feel like it's a little bit easier to talk to people about. I mean, it sure enough has its own challenges, but I think you can teach people Austrian economics by talking to them about Bitcoin, and you don't have to get into which side are you on? Are you the red team? Are you the blue team? Well, we're the gold team, baby. So, well, actually, I guess the Bitcoiners are the orange team. So, basically ever since then, I've just been singing all around the world and also getting a chance to talk as well.
Yeah, it's great. I'm just getting kind of into like that Bitcoin knowledge area. I'm pretty new to like libertarian and liberty movement and stuff like that last 2 years. So I'm still a baby. I'm still learning everything.
Well, we need new energy from people. I know a lot of people that are burnt out on this space. They're sick and tired of trying to save everybody. So it's good to see. And I believe that you also ran for office. So that's pretty cool.
A couple times. Yep.
Great. Congratulations.
I've run for a couple different offices. So I'm just spreading the word. So You've written some pretty good incredible songs. Actually, I'll use those phrases. I absolutely love your music that I've gotten to listen to. I'm
Thank
still
you.
discovering more as I go through. But
There's a
you have
lot of
songs.
it.
There's plenty to keep me entertained while I am doing schoolwork. So you have a song Silk Road, that's tied directly to Ross Ulbricht's story. Can you kind of share like what motivated you to write this one and like why does his case resonate with you so deeply?
Well, back in 2013, I remember I was at Jeffrey Tucker's event in Atlanta, and I had heard everybody talking. I was there to perform, right? And I had already done like a little bit of Bitcoin stuff since 2012, but this is my first really big Bitcoin conference. And I remember everybody talking about Ross Ulbricht getting arrested. And I'm like, who is this guy? He sounds like kind of an idiot. No offense to Ross, but like, I mean, what normal person who doesn't know the backstory is going to think, oh, build a drug website. You'll definitely get away with that. No problem. Right. I mean, it just seemed kind of like a really obvious thing that you're not supposed to do. However, I got a chance to meet his mother, Lynn Ulbricht, who I really credit with my interest in the case. I did an interview with her. I was going around doing the Tatiana show, and she gave me kind of the backstory about what was going on with Ross. And I think that really having a mother kind of advocating for her son is a very good like method. Also, Lynn is very articulate. She's been an amazing supporter of Ross. I don't think that some people like to think that, oh, any mother would do that, but I don't think so, actually. He's very, very lucky to have her because without Lynn, I don't think that he would even be where he is now, which is hopefully on his way to a pardon or at least a commutation of his sentence. So after getting to know Lynn, I started writing with Ross and we became friends as well, to the point where I visited him about a dozen times in the prison. He actually, for my birthday, he drew a picture of me from a photo taken by Judd Weiss, which I'm sure you might be familiar with his work. Everybody knows he's like one of the best libertarian photographers. And so Ross took that picture and he drew it, he did a hand drawing. And so when I created the world's first artist cryptocurrency back in 2014, I used the money that I raised in order to fundraise for my album called Keep the Faith. And on the album cover, I decided to use Ross's artwork of me because I wanted to bring attention to the fact that, artists need freedom of expression. If I was signed to a major label, they would not want me to talk about this necessarily. And I think that that's really a crime, right? I mean, as an artist, you have a really big obligation to express yourself fully. And even if it's not popular, even if it's not going to sell records or whatever, it's not, the art isn't supposed to be just about like the commercial side. And for me, this was something that I was really passionate about. And I wanted to highlight, well, look, if you use these alternative currencies and, Tatiana coin, you can actually support my work and you can also support causes that I have in common with my fan base, right? A lot of people in the libertarian community, especially now, after so many years of working toward that, are very aware of what happened with the Silk Road and are advocating for Ross to be free. And for those people who are not familiar with Ross, he was given double life plus 40 years for all nonviolent crimes. And he essentially had created a eBay, which was used oftentimes for voluntary exchange of goods, mainly marijuana. There were some other drugs on there. So, drugs are bad, but it's a free market. And I thought that we were free people. So what was interesting about the Silk Road was that there was a rating system. Now that sounds kind of funny to people, right? Oh, rating system. But people are getting bad drugs and people are going to do drugs even if you tell them no. So the harm reduction was noticeable. There was even a college that did a study on that. I don't remember the name of the university, but they did a study and they showed that the Silk Road did in fact lower the impact of the drug war. And the drug war is really, I think, exacerbating the problem versus solving it. So yeah, it's been a very interesting journey learning about what that legal system is. When you grow up, you watch yourself some Ally McBeal or whatever, and you think that you know everything about the legal system and you think that it's so just. And then as you get older, you find out that it's not. And another thing that I was happy, I came across one of those FIJA flyers the other day. So during nullification, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Who knew about that? So through that journey, I've been able to learn for myself and then share that information with different people.
Yeah, it's great. I'm still kind of getting myself better versed in everything that's going on, because there's just so much and stuff like that to go through and everything. So just pivoting a little bit, there in the news, there's been a lot about like I hate bringing it up, but like it's pretty out there. P Diddy and like other high profile music industry figures. And I know you said like you're not in with like mainstream music media stuff like that. So like just tell us kind of what you've experienced, what it's like trying to break out in the music industry, and kind of what do you think with the power dynamics play out in like entertainment?
Well, so I went to Berklee College of Music, which is a really good music school up in Boston, for contemporary music. So we had, a nice path into the music industry. I started working at major recording studios when I graduated. And I just remember sitting at my desk actually crying, thinking how depressed I was because, Foxy Brown was in the studio and they would spend $5 or $6 grand a day recording. And then they would just be, ordering McDonald's and being degenerates and just, really not classy people at all. And I knew a lot of different independent artists that were unable to afford studio time. That's why I started working in a recording studio. It was because I needed a real job and I wanted free studio time because studio time is expensive. And the irony is that they didn't even give it to me for free. I had to like sneak it, or I had to pay a reduced friend rate. I'm like, you guys are paying me $10 an hour after going to the best music school in the country. Thanks. So it was just, that's how it started out. I was doing a lot of gigs in New York and stuff like that. But basically, I feel like the minute that Britney Spears hit the scene, I feel like the veil was lifted in terms of just how perverse the music industry itself was. You've got a girl who's underage. She's singing "I'm Not That Innocent" in a schoolgirl costume. Like, that's gross. And everybody was just, really into it. And to me, it was the death of music. Everything that came after Britney was just terrible. We've had maybe a handful of artists that have made it into the mainstream that I think are talented. But for the most part, the artists, especially like in terms of satanic imagery and stuff like that, it's really obvious once you kind of know what to look for. So yeah, I think the music industry sucks. I know that there's a lot of good people working in it, and we're all sort of limited. And then you've got the human nature, which is, people are really willing to do anything in order to be famous. That's really shown with the fact that basically nobody has even come out speaking against P. Diddy. Everybody was at his parties. They're all scumbags. They all knew what was going on. And now everybody's just saying, oh, look, I didn't know. I like Russell Brand, but, he was hanging out with Diddy and now he's all Christian. It seems like a very convenient timing for this conversion. I'm not saying he's not. Maybe he is, but it's just a lot of people, I believe, knew what was going on, and there's some forgiveness from other people for people who knew, but I don't really feel that way. I believe that there were probably a lot of threats made to people so they wouldn't talk about it. But I think that the larger factor is just that everybody wants to be king of Little Shit Mountain. And I guess the mountain is, you see that in libertarianism, right? Like these stupid infights over like these little tiny pieces of glory. So stupid. And the music industry, yeah, it's a lot bigger of a deal, right? Everybody wants to be a star, but not at that price. So I was really happy to have kind of transitioned into doing Liberty stuff. Like I haven't even really thought about making it in the music business. Like, for example, if you want to go on tour with a famous artist, people go, oh, why don't you go open for somebody? And what people don't realize is that if you want to open up for a country star, you have to pay at least $150,000 to start, just to go on tour with them. Like you're not getting paid money. You're just paying money into the expenses for the tour. And the hope is that you will then make money afterward. But the problem with that is that nobody's really making money in the business right now. There are certain people you can make money with licensing, right? That's a really easy one. But, even when people talk about touring, unless you're on a really serious budget from a record label, you're not making money touring. I have a good friend of mine. He is a Grammy Award winning engineer. He works with me all the time. And I asked him, I said, hey, when you do a gig in LA, how much do you get paid? It's like $150. So basically think about that, right? Like this guy's not in his house for at least 5 hours, right? Because you got to drive to the gig. If it's a girl, you got to spend, at least an hour getting ready or whatever. You got to practice time, blah, blah, all for $150. I mean, that's a joke. And then, he worked with this other artist and I thought, wow, this is so cool. They're going on tour. They look so cool. And they're not making any money on tour. They're barely breaking even. So if you have a rich daddy, I guess it works. But then if you have a rich daddy, you might not have like the best song to sing because you've kind of had things handed to you. So I think a lot of the things that we grow up believing about the music industry and, you could make it or whatever are delusional. I remember I went on to, so my family was bothering me and they were like, you can't make it because you won't go on to America's Got Talent or like, Superstar, whatever those stupid shows were. So anyway, I remember they had an audition for that in New York at a club that I just happened to be playing that night. So I went in, I sang my song, and then they waited 5 hours for me to perform my actual set. Like they were into it. And they offered me a contract. They're like, oh, please come on our show, blah, blah, blah. And I was, I'm not going to lie. I was a little excited. I was like, finally, somebody appreciates me. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that if I did go on that show, even if I was on that show for 3 minutes, it would have made no impact whatsoever. And then they would have actually owned a lot of my rights to my music. So that's definitely, not ideal. I'm not going to sign over everything. So I could be on TV for 2 minutes and then they can make fun of me or whatever stupid thing that they have going on. So one of the things that I did to solve some of the problems that artists had, which is, fans and funding, was creating Tatiana Coin. So Tatiana Coin was the first artist cryptocurrency. Now you've got all these meme coins, these NFTs and stuff, but first it was me. Anyway, so basically, how do you make sure that you have people in the audience? How do you make sure that you actually have money to record, right? Those are the basic things. And I had built up audiences all over, I had on MySpace and Friendster and YouTube and this one and that one. And around the time that I did Facebook and around the Ron Paul time, they were saying, okay, well, you can pay 30 cents and then, maybe you have a chance of people liking your page. I thought, okay, well, yeah, I'll invest the 30 cents if they like my page because then I could keep selling them stuff. But that's not how it worked. Every time I wanted to make a post, I was now unable to even reach my own audience. But I actually brought the audience to Facebook in that regard, right? So that was a challenge for me that I wanted to solve. And by having a direct relationship with my fans, by creating my own token, then I could kind of circumvent that. And additionally, because, there was a fixed amount of Tatiana coins, the hope is that they would go out and they would tell their friends and they would say, oh, this is so great. So basically, that was what, was our focus. It was very early, so it was hard to fundraise. And it was hard to kind of explain the idea, but we did it. We funded for Keep the Faith, and that was, our goal. Unfortunately, it was like, I had no experience with technology. I hated tech. I hated finance. Those two things were just basically the grossest thing on earth. And yeah, here I was in the middle of it. So, what I didn't realize was that it was like having a car without any roads, right? We had no infrastructure, whatever. So people wouldn't be able to use my Tatiana coins or anything unless I actually had a platform to do it. So me and Adam B. Levine, who I consider one of the fathers of the token movement, we created a company. Well, he created it and I helped called Tokenly. And what I didn't realize until more recently is that it's called a Web3 company now. But back then we were calling it Bitcoin 2.0. And so we started experimenting and started building the tools. And we built a ton of stuff. But the challenge was actually getting anybody to understand what we were doing. So now you've got VCs and investors putting tons and tons of money into these types of platforms. But we did not have that luck because basically the VCs were like, oh, this is so interesting, so innovative. Thank you very much for this great idea. Yeah, sure. Keep us abreast of your, progress. But we couldn't get anybody to give us any money. And we made more products than any company that I've seen subsequently, honestly. Like, it was really, really cool what we made, but everybody in those olden days was a little bit too early. So we had, some vinyl tokens. I created like 1,000 tokens per album. So if people participated in that, they would get like different prizes. It was a little bit like a Patreon model, but with some extra features to it. So nowadays, the space has definitely evolved. And I'm actually experimenting with runes, which I never thought that I would do any other token other than Counterparty, because I love Counterparty. It's built on Bitcoin. I'm a loyal person. It's like an OG platform. And actually it's seeing a resurgence now. They're building a lot of stuff. So I imagine those tools will become more available. But now there's other things called runes and ordinals, and I'm kind of playing around with that to see what I can do with it. And I like using Bitcoin as the base layer. I don't think I think some real hardcore Bitcoiners may not like that, but like, I don't know, whatever. I can't please everybody. They can go cry to their mama. It's not my turn to solve their problems. So yeah, it's been a really interesting journey. And I like to tell artists, look, don't join this NFT stuff so you can make a lot of money. Join it so you can learn about money and that you can kind of sculpt what that future is going to look like.
Yeah, definitely. So kind of going back a little bit, as a woman in music industry, and even with this, the finance stuff, and kind of you're coming from music, like a music background, into this tech and everything like that. Have like you felt like some pressure to conform to like different narratives, styles, like a lot now, like you were saying with Britney Spears and stuff like that, how when they came in, it kind of changed everything to like sexualizing the woman. And you see stuff with like some of the artists that are out there now are really just reinforcing and just maintaining those narratives. Like, how has that been, being a woman in the music industry and stuff like that?
Oh, it's been delightful. No, I'm kidding. It's horrible. It's so annoying because it's just like a race to the like sluttiest position. I mean, look, if people want to have sex, they want to do whatever they want. That's not what this is about, right? There is a complete and total pressure, especially on female artists, to look a certain way, to act a certain way, and definitely show a lot of skin. And, we had that a little bit with Madonna, and every other artist was like maybe a little bit risque. But when it was Britney, it just became a manufactured thing. One of the most annoying things I found out with Katy Perry was when she said, "Oh, I kissed that girl and I liked it." She didn't even kiss a girl. Like, you can't just like find a friend and just grab him and make out for a second so you could actually be authentic. I mean, it was completely manufactured, and especially disgusting because they were taking these Disney Disney character type girls, right, that everybody grew up with, and then they basically turned them into whores. Miley Cyrus, who I think is actually, of all of the artists, I actually think she's super talented. I really like her music. Well, maybe not all of her music, but I like a lot of her songs.
Definitely has some good pedigree with it, with Billy Ray and having Dolly as her godmother. So she's kind of set up a little bit pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, but like, I feel like even look at how she went crazy, right? I mean, she had full frontal nudity. She was riding on a wrecking ball all naked. I mean, she really went off the rails for a while, right? So clearly this isn't going very well for these artists, and nobody cares, right? They just want to make money off of them. You look at Britney Spears now. I mean, look, as much as I hated her growing up because I felt like, oh, this girl is just representing everything that I find so loathsome, she clearly has some serious mental issues right now, and it's pretty sad to see because she's just way too over-sexualized for her age group. I mean, look, she still looks good, but it just is so weird. Her dances look crazy. She looks like she's on drugs. I don't think that, I hope she's not on drugs, but, maybe she is. I don't know what she's dealing with. But the point is that it doesn't seem like this world has left these women better off. And I certainly don't think it's done anything good for young women. Now, you have everybody having their own OnlyFans account, right? I mean, it's literally just prostitution everywhere. I mean, how is this? Okay, maybe they're not fully prostituting, but like kind of, right? It's basically pornified just the modern woman. And it's no surprise that the guys in that age group, yeah, they like it. But they're also kind of screwed up, right? Because first of all, the girls, there's nothing to talk to them about. They're completely brainwashed into, radical feminism. They're cuckoo. And the guys are not much better. And now they have jerks like Andrew Tate to look up to, which I find repugnant. I don't understand why people think he's so manly and so great. I get it. Men need some masculinity, but it ain't there. So I think it's really worked out very poorly for a lot of different people. You'll even see a lot of my friends are like cougars, because the guys that are significantly younger, I'm talking like 10, 15 years younger, they don't have anybody in their age group to date. So they're hitting up, the older ladies, and it's working, but I don't think that's totally the greatest solution either, right? So, I'm glad that people can find love even in this terrible world that we're living in. I mean, the whole Tinder culture is really disgusting, and it makes people very disposable. But we're solving problems one heart at a time. And I used to have a podcast called Proof of Love, and I really miss doing it. One of these days, I really want to kick it back up, because it was basically, I saw a lot of people in the tech space worrying about, making money and all that stuff, but they weren't necessarily balanced in terms of their personal lives and their emotional lives, their spiritual lives. So it was kind of cool to be talking about that stuff with people that I think could use a little bit more balance.
Yeah. So like, again, tapping in with those, like the celebrity culture and stuff like that. Now, like, we have like different celebrities who have this platform, like of this fan base, that are now taking that and using that as a position to get involved in politics and try and not present their perspective and narrative onto their fan base, like Taylor Swift, who's now come out in support of Kamala Harris and stuff, that she has a lot of younger fans and everything. And again, I grew up with Taylor Swift when she was country. Like, I was a big fan of hers when she was country, and when she transitioned to pop, I lost all interest, and then it just got worse. Mm-hmm. Like, I went from tolerating to I can't even stand her. And it's just kind of just progressed. But I see these girls, and some of them are they're going to be able to vote in November. This is their first time voting. They're 18 and everything else. And like, they're just going to follow because that's what T Swift does. That's who she's supporting. Like, what is your take on these celebrities kind of pushing their narratives and pushing their support behind these political candidates, that it seems like it's almost like tipping the scales?
Well, look, it's kind of a little bit complicated, because some people say, oh, artists can't have a political view in general, just shut up and sing, right? But I don't think that that's necessarily true, because, if there weren't artists like Cat Stevens or Bob Dylan or Joan Baez, I probably wouldn't be who I am today, right? I think the problem really happens in the case of people being not really that educated on the subject. Taylor Swift is also the darling of Lucian Grange, who is apparently quite involved in the Diddy case, right? He's accused of knowing what was going on. I suspect that Taylor Swift did some soul selling. I don't know. Maybe she didn't. I have no idea, but looks a little bit dicey over there. So, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? In general, we have a bunch of stupid people voting. I was on a podcast and they were talking about, oh, women shouldn't have the right to vote. I was pretty irritated by that at the time, because I think everybody should. But at the same time, there's something to be said for the fact that women are voting in ways that don't really benefit them. Like, all they care about now is abortions. Like, all right, ladies, calm down. Like, this isn't the only issue that we have to worry about. And also the fact that that's become the great sacred cow of being a female is like, oh, I have to be able to kill my baby. Oh, but it's a clump of cells. Really? Because when I'm like 3 months pregnant or whatever, people don't say to me, oh, congrats on your clump of cells. No, it's basically on your intention. And I don't want to go too far off onto the abortion thing, because, that's contentious, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, why is that our main issue for women? So I don't know. I mean, we have basically a bunch of idiots. This is why we have public school systems, because they make us good little slaves. If you see the old Aaron Russo clip with where he talks about Rockefeller and he talks about why did they have feminism, and it was because he was like, oh, is it because, women need a right to vote, blah, blah, blah. No, it was so they had a new tax base, and so they could get their hands on those kids right away. So they doubled their tax base, and now they can basically brainwash the children while mom and dad are out working. And now it's gotten to the point where, a two-income household is still not enough. The inflation is completely out of control. And so, the kids are left at home. And if you have this whole divorce culture, I really blame that for a lot of the narcissism that's running rampant in our society. I mean, everybody wants to be an Instagram hoe, and it's like really not contributing very much. I mean, you talk to young kids, that's what they want to be. They want to be an influencer. Like, what are you going to influence, bro? You're just following along in the path anyway. So the whole thing is pretty disheartening. I try not to be too black-pilled about it, but we had the Rage Against the War Machine rally, and everybody put in so much work. It was such a great performance from a lot of the different artists and stuff. But, those artists are not getting paid the real big bucks, and the audience wasn't really there. I don't know why people only want to go to Trump rallies right now, as if that's their only focus in life. But to me, the anti-war thing is so important. And if you look 20 years ago, we had gigantic crowds in support of the anti-war movement, and they've really managed to suppress that significantly. It's almost, you got to give the overlords credit, because we're basically being controlled morning till night through our Twitter feed, through our Facebook feed, through our YouTube, and whatever it is that we're being fed, and we're just getting riled up, and we're not even that effective. People were saying, oh, if Trump doesn't win, there's going to be a revolution. I'm like, nobody's revolting anything. Nobody's getting off their couch, in my opinion. I could be wrong, but I don't really see the people really being willing to act, right? It seems like they all just want a hero, and they want to just call it in. They want everybody to be quiet. They want to watch their Netflix. They want to eat their Dominoes and, do keto for 2 minutes and then think that they're being healthy. I mean, the whole thing is like, society's in a bad place, but I think it really offers an opportunity to look to God. I don't know how you feel about God, but I like God. And, it's given me a chance to kind of learn a little bit more about that side of myself, whereas before I didn't really have the time or maybe like the permission within myself to kind of seek that higher power. There were other things that were kind of going on that were really kind of traumatic. But I think that, in the darkness, there is light. And whenever I can actually train my brain to not go to the dark place, I'm really surprised and heartened by how many people are actually fighting the good fight, like yourself, like all the people putting on Rage Against the War Machine. It was a completely thankless job, I'm sure, except for the thank yous that you got from the team and stuff. But we got to keep fighting. But it is a little bit challenging when social media is so controlled. And now I know everybody likes X and they think it's the most free place. And I probably shouldn't say this because they're not going to boost my content. But come on, man. Elon Musk wants a lot of control over a lot of different things. And it's like, here's a little slice of liberty for you little losers. You could speak out, and everybody's just throwing a parade. But I mean, I've been awake for over 20 years now, and I just don't think it's enough.
Yeah, no, I definitely, I think a lot with the decreased turnout for like the anti-war movement, I think is because the politicians have become smart in that we're not declaring official war on anyone. It's these operations and different, they're just finding nuanced phrasings for things. So people are like, oh, we're not at war. Like there is no war because they haven't declared war against anyone. So they see no problem with it. And then like I said, we get into these.
What are they going to do?
Warriors at this point. Like everyone's all tough online and they talk a good game sometimes, but it's like, but where's the action? Like
I don't even know what the action is though. Like what is the action? I get very annoyed hearing about these stupid elections because what about the other 4 years? And then you just usurp all these resources and all of this goodwill to actually make a change, but then people are thinking like, oh, vote harder, daddy. Like, come on, man. We got to think a little bit more strategically. I was actually this weekend, I was supposed to do my event called The Counterparty. People can go to thecounterparty.com. And part of the name was inspired by, Counterparty, the protocol that I built my Tatiana coin on that I'm so excited about. But really, it was about countering the political parties, right? Can we just think about something that's a little bit more useful? We moved it to January 25th and 26th, and our focus is more, security, safety, homeschooling, permaculture, spiritual aspects of things. Like those things are all important. And what are we going to do? Like, look at the people in North Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
FEMA isn't doing anything for them. FEMA just ran away because they were basically blocking help from happening, and people got pissed. And I think that that's a really great display of what mankind is capable of. And no, we do not need the overlords to do everything from us. However, it would be nice if they stopped taking our money, because the taxation situation is absolutely insane. The inflation is just completely off the rails. And I think that's really why sometimes there's less ability to fundraise and things like that, because people are just getting robbed through inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So, we kind of plod along, but I think maybe if it gets worse, it's going to get better eventually. But I think that the pain has to happen. Like, people need to get crushed pretty bad. They need to wake up out of their stupor, because nobody wants to be the first one. I mean, who wants to sacrifice their life? Not that I'm suggesting anybody do that, but I'm just saying, like, there's danger in freedom, right? And in the pursuit of that. And for thousands of years, people have paid very, very high prices for that. Now nobody even wants to pay, $5 for a monthly membership to support their favorite content creator, So it's definitely, it's a mixed bag, and also it's kind of exciting. You get to see the apocalypse.
Yeah. They're definitely going through, and you're like, can we not have a once in a lifetime event every week? Like,
yeah.
Like the generation right now, like, because I'm born in the 90s and stuff like that. Like, I've had Desert Storm, I've had 9/11, we're just going through, like, can we not have these once in a lifetime events that you say are once in a lifetime, like, repeatedly?
Yeah.
And on, like, with FEMA kind of just going poof, gone, I'm out of here, deuces, you're on your own. I do know, like, Libertarian Mutual Aid is they're trying so hard to help out in North Carolina and stuff. And again, it's so hard with people, like, I would love to donate and give money, give time, but it's like, I can't get off from work. I need to work to make money, to barely pay for my bills, to pay for food, because I don't qualify for any assistance. And it's like, but some people who do need it just to help get on their feet in a time, like, there's no winning anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, we're in a time, I said, I'm like, great, we're going to see the apocalypse. Awesome. Do I want to? Absolutely not.
Yeah. I don't really want to see the apocalypse either, but
probably.
Maybe we need to, I don't know. I'm just accepting whatever happens at this point, and I'm going to do my best and try not to be cranky. So I think that's really, like, think about it. Post-COVID, nobody even had a real acknowledgement of what we went through. It just started being like hit after war after crazy situation. And people are just all waking up at the same time. Some of us have been awake for a long time, but other people are just starting now. And yeah, everybody's still a little bit groggy. So there's some pains associated with that. But I'm somewhat hopeful. And I'd love to see some of these wars end. There does seem to be a lot of pressure from the people, but I mean, is there? Because they didn't even show up to the anti-war rallies. So I don't know how active people are in terms of that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know anything. I think a lot of people are just content being those keyboard warriors and talking the talk, and they don't know how to walk the walk on things. And I think some of it's also, like, we were kind of discussing a little bit, is like this path of moral decline in some of stuff that we're seeing in these, like, few upcoming generations and stuff, and how things are going. We're just, like, declining morally, and we're letting it happen and we're being, it's okay, let it go. It just don't, and just like kind of like blowing it off. Like, do you have any like perspective on like what you could think, like what you think would be like the cause or like a root basis for this?
I mean, everything. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy, but that's what we're seeing
Love
writ
it.
large, right? It like became a documentary. And so I think, look, it sounds kind of like a weird conservative talking point, but you know, I come from a family of divorce. My parents got divorced when I was 13, and you know, that really stays with you for your life. And I think that it causes a lot of attention seeking behavior, you know what I mean? That unstable family life, it can be really hard, especially on girls. And that's why I kind of talk a lot about this whole Instagram thing, right? Where just everybody's like, you know, pumped up their faces. They've got all the fillers that they can possibly squish in there. And it's like, girl, you're 24 years old. You don't need Botox. Calm down, you know? And I think that stems from like a lack of a stable place, right? And it's also socially acceptable, right? Like every kind of media is telling you, you don't need no man. You can sleep with whoever you want. It's so fun to sleep with all these dudes. No, it's not. It's not fun at all. There's nothing fun about like getting ghosted, which is what happens a lot of the times, because the guys, they don't even know how to do anything. I mean, you've got a lot of these boys too, which learn about sex from porn. They get their messages from a-holes like Andrew Tate and similar. And then they don't really know how to relate to women in a really genuine way. And so now you've got these problems. That even goes on in married couples, right? Like, you know, oh, everybody watches porn. Well, do they? And also, is that okay? Like people are saying, oh, it's okay if my husband watches porn. I mean, I guess, but it seems kind of lousy. It doesn't really seem very respectful to the relationship. So, you know, I mean, what are you going to do though? Because now you've got kids that are watching weird porn, like really weird stuff, not just, you know, some boobies or something, but they've got, you know, stepfather and stepmommy and all this gross incest stuff. It's really, really awful. And it's also very violent, you know, like they really like a lot of choking and stuff. And I mean, whatever you people are into, but for mass people, like if you had a 14-year-old daughter and she wants to get choked out, I don't think that's really very good, right? There's something wrong there. But who's going to tell them that? Who's going to guide them? And who's going to do it in a way where they're actually going to listen? Because there's no real respect for our elders that's built into the community, right? Like, you know, even the okay boomer comment, I don't love that. I feel like that's just a-hole-ish. Like, I don't like that at all, because I don't know, like old people sometimes know some stuff. Maybe we shouldn't be rude to them and just completely dismiss what they have to say. And unfortunately, that's where we're at. So America's kind of going down the tubes. And I think that it's the media influence, especially with, you know, like these stars. I think that's also problematic because they're exporting that culture to other places. I was in Poland this summer, and, you know, Poland has remained preserved, but even there, they're getting like a lot of that kind of bad influence. I would say it's one of the more conservative places in Europe for sure. And still, like, they're getting a lot of leftist stuff. But I would say that they fared better because family is very important there. So people are definitely, you know, getting married young and staying married. There are some divorces and things like that, but for the most part, I think it's in pretty good shape over there.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen like and looked at different things in different countries and stuff like that. That it's just so different. Again, it's different cultures, different upbringings, and values are so different everywhere. Like, what do you think we here can kind of do to reverse this like moral decline? Like, how can we as individuals, a society, like what can we do to foster like a healthier, more respectful culture?
Homeschool. You know, I mean, I wouldn't think of sending a kid to regular school right now. I think there's a lot of problems there. I mean, how do you really protect children, right? And can you really save the poisoned minds? I think that there is a big backlash, even among young people. They do seem to be swinging in the more conservative way. So the overlord's plans seem to be backfiring, but I think really creating intelligent children from the jump that can maybe have influence on others would be great. Turning off the television. I mean, there's nothing on there anyway. I swear to God, sometimes I just want to watch a movie. I used to watch every movie on earth. And now I have 6 movie providers, HBO and Amazon and whatever. And I can't find a single thing that I want to watch. And every time I turn something on, I'm like, oh, look, here's my lesson about LGBTQ this and whatever that. And like, oh, you're bad, Whitey. And I just don't care. Like, I don't want to watch that stuff. And I actually like Black people in movies. Like, I don't mind if there's a gay person in the movie. But when it becomes a thing where you're just getting lessons, you're bad and you need to be trained out of your race, sexophobic, homophobic, whatever it is, nonsense. Like, it becomes preachy and it loses its artistic integrity. And now we know that there are a bunch of kid effers potentially. And that really kind of turns me off. I'm not going to really be into those people anymore. It's hard to want to watch a movie with somebody who is potentially participating in these ungodly kind of acts. And I think that they're probably Satanists. I never thought that would be a real statement, but I think that's what's going on.
Yeah, I've noticed over the years I've like lost. I used to have like a whole list of like my shows and what days and all of that, and like I had like the schedule of what shows and movies were coming out and everything. And now I'm like, no, like I watch shows like Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, and stuff like that. I'm like, I see something in the news. I'm like, oh, when's that going to show up on my show? Like, when are we going to have our political statement event happen in this show and stuff like that? When are we pulling those things in? Or like that, or it's like these so not so the reality TV stuff. Like, everything's reality TV.
It's not even good. They like reality TV because it's cheap to produce. And there's a bunch of stupid people that are really interested in being famous. Like, that's all anybody cares about is being famous. Yeah. It's like just gross. I mean, I get it in the terms of, as a musician, I want to have success and I want to be recognized for my work. So, that equals being famous, right? But at what cost, right? And that's the other thing. Like, you're not making money off of music. People are not buying CDs anymore. If I get a play on Spotify, it pays me 0.0003 cents. Like, this is not something to retire off of. So, I mean, I guess we kind of have to wait and see if there's going to be technological opportunities afforded to us. But there's also probably going to be bigger issues than, musicians getting enough money. I think that like we're going to have food shortages and stuff at some point. So I think people are going to be focusing more on that.
Like, I don't think a lot of people know, like, years ago, I used to actually run and had like a underground hip hop label. And and I know that what the income of that is and how much it costs to run stuff from a label perspective. Getting the studio time, getting the events and the venues and this and the merchandise and everything, and it does not pay. And I think a lot of people, I would love to see that people want to be famous, but it's like, I would love to see people be famous and have a message that they want to get out there. I'll use wholesome. There's definitely like it's got a purpose other than just to be a shit stir and stir the pot and cause more drama. I love to see people try and I want to go and get on this, or I want to go do that and stuff like that to get my name out there, to bring attention to X, Y, or Z. And I think a lot of that I love seeing how you've kind of used it to bring attention to things like Ross and everything like that. It's a different crowd, a different group that might not have thought of it, and you don't realize that they don't realize that they're being brought that attention to them of that information. So it's just, I am like so blown away with how much you've done with everything between music and the liberty movements, and then Tatiana coin. Like, you've got your hands in everything. And like, it's, some people say like, the whole thing of like a jack of all trades, master of none. But no one really goes off the phrase anymore is a jack of all trade, master of none is better than a master of one.
Mm-hmm.
And having that verse knowledge and background is so great, and being so well versed in things. So I just want to, because I do plan, we always end our episodes with 2 songs and stuff like that. So just to wrap up a little bit, just where can my listeners find you online? And we already talked about your upcoming event that got moved to January. Do you have anything else going on, or anything that you want the listeners to know about?
Sure. I mean, thank you very much for giving me the chance to kind of share my story with everybody. And it's really nice to catch up with you just a couple of weeks after we last spoke and saw each other even in DC. Mm-hmm. So thecounterparty.com is happening January 25th to the 26th right here in Miami Beach. And then I also have a bunch of gigs coming up. So I'm going to do Halloween, which is in Atlanta on the 26th of October. So if people are in that area, and I think it's like $79, but you get 10% off with Queen Tea, but it's also unlimited alcohol. And I think some food as well. So it's not just a party, like you actually get to eat and drink and stuff like that. And you're also supporting a great group of Bitcoiners. And there's going to be a lot of really good live music there. I'm going to be in the Latin American Bitcoin Conference in Buenos Aires in November 1st and 2nd. So it'll be great to go back down. Buenos Aires is like my favorite city in the world, one of my favorites. And then I also have Monerotopia happening November 14th to the 17th in Mexico City. So a lot of traveling coming up and a lot of opportunities to kind of make friends. I'm not as in the Monero community. I like privacy, but you know, I'm going to now learn a lot more from that crew. So that'll be really good. And yeah, if people want to know more, they can follow me on X and see my suppressed posts. It's Queen Tatiana. And then TatianaMoroz.com is my website. And then they can also listen to me on Spotify, where they will not pay me any money. What a thrill. I get to be exposed. So yeah, if people want to kind of support my work. Actually, if people want to buy Tatiana coin, I'm gonna be selling them. So they've just got to download a free wallet. And I've been meaning, it's been on my like to-do list to instruct people how to do it on my Tatiana coin page within my Tatiana Moroz website. So if people want to kind of dabble with some counterparty tokens, they can do that. And I'll keep people posted on the runes coming up too, which I'm getting some help from the Taproot Witches. So I want to give them a shout out because it's a really cool project. And it's actually women focused. So I think that's kind of fun too. So yeah. A lot of opportunities to learn from me, and also I have a lot of cool friends that I also do shows with. So check those out too.
Yeah, you don't sound busy at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening. We're actually going to have a party here this weekend because some people bought their flights and they couldn't cancel them. Mm-hmm. We're expecting a much bigger impact of the storm. Luckily, there wasn't one here in Florida as much as what some of the people suffered from Helene, but. There was definitely some damage, but just not on the Miami side. So we're going to kind of prep for January, and, I hope that you can make it out then too.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to get down there. I need some warm weather.
Yeah.
So that wraps up tonight. Just before we close out, I want to remind everyone that we do need to keep fighting for justice and freedom. Especially for people like Ross Ulbricht, who have been unjustly imprisoned for far too long. Please join us calling for President Joe Biden to pardon Ross. And we'll be closing today's show with 2 of Tatiana's songs, Silk Road and What You Gonna Do. We also will include Free Ross by Jordan Page. And we finish all of our shows with Silk Road and Free Ross. So we did add this extra one in here because we have Tatiana with us. So I want to thank everyone for listening, and remember to keep fighting for liberty.
Thank you.
What you gonna do when they come for you? Are you gonna lay down and die? Tell me, officer, tell me, what did I do? Was it 'cause I was speaking my mind? What is the limit, and are we still in it? Can we go and change? for you. I thought we were free inside. Are you gonna wait? Will you be prepared when they set the world on fire? Did you learn the truth? I know that you're scared, 'cause who would wanna fight for a lie? What is the limit and are we still in it? Can we go and change the tide? Tell me what to do when they come for you. Tell me what to do when they come for you. I thought we were free inside. Answer the call, this could be the end. Defend our sacred ground. The devil will fall, he isn't your friend, buying souls by the pound. What is the limit and are we still in it? Can we go and change the tide? Tell me what to do when they come for you. Tell me what to do when they come for you. I thought we were free inside.
was a man who did the unspoken. He looked for freedom from the violence. No one is perfect when there's new ground broken. A mess is made and someone gets blamed. He had a dream of harmony as you wish to live out your own. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. This ain't the movies, there's a war in the streets. The innocent are in jail. We pray for justice and we wanna be free, and hope the truth will prevail. cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road. We cannot stand for this, cannot have you fall along the Silk Road.
On day one, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht to a sentence of time served.
Is there anywhere on earth where a man can still be free? Will he bear the weight alone, or will he have to bend the knee? Is there no one in this land who grows tired of the game, where the wicked gather stones and build up prisons in our name? There's a story that you've heard before. It's been told inside a cage. collide. Said Ross, don't break free.